Hi, third graders. Wait, Miss Ozolin, what are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
Guess what, friends? Miss Ozolin forgot to turn on her mic.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Loud
Am I
and clear.
here now?
You're here now.
But I'm still confused.
We're both
Here? Where?
in Tacoma. That is actually the view we can see right outside our window here at the TV classroom.
I can see the crane right through
So I
that
think
window.
some changes have happened.
A little bit?
Little bit, a lot.
Yeah.
We are no longer doing reading and math.
We're not.
We
We are.
We are, but we're doing science, which uses reading and math to learn about the world around us.
Yes.
Which is
Can I
really
say it?
awesome. What, Mr. Kevin?
Can I say the word?
Yes.
Science and stuff!
So friends,
So excited.
we're starting a new trimester of learning. And so we're starting a new trimester of learning here at the TV classroom.
Change is good.
And we are going to have some lessons here. We are also going to have some lessons out in the real world. And we're going to be doing some experiments here in the TV classroom too,
Yes.
which is going to be awesome.
Very
I'm so
exciting.
excited.
Yes.
But before we get into what we're doing today, let's check in with our zone.
Okay.
How are you feeling today, friends? What emotions are you having? What's your body feeling like? What's your brain and what are your thoughts doing?
Mrs. Ozolin, Mrs. Walle, please tell us, what zones are you in?
Oh, it's so interesting. I've been in several different zones today.
I have too.
I started in the yellow zone because I was really excited about our new TV classroom. And then I had a conversation with someone you ever have that feeling where you get really excited but also nervous and your stomach gets
Yes.
ooh, and then your heart starts beating, you get adrenaline.
Yep.
So that happened. And then I had lunch and now I'm crashing into the blue zone.
So mine was a little bit different.
Oh.
So I was yellow excited. And then I crashed into the blue zone because I used all my energy
Oh yeah.
in the last two lessons that we filmed. And I was like, oh, I'm in the blue zone. I need to eat something. I need to nourish my body. It's saying, nourish me. You've been using your brain cells. So then I ate, and then I had that conversation with you, with that person. And now I'm back. I'm actually in the green zone. I'm not even in the yellow zone anymore.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm feeling really focused and clear. I'm ready to go.
Good. Awesome.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mr. Kevin, what zone are you in today?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. Let me pull up our shot here so I can see you. I can look up at you.
Oh, there he is.
I'm in the green zone.
Awesome.
Yeah. Feeling pretty good about things.
Good.
Good.
That's good to hear.
I'm glad that
Happy
we
to be
can
here.
see you.
Me too.
Pardon?
I'm glad that we can see you back there.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it nice to be able to see his face.
It does. Yeah.
He's not
Well,
just
I
some
appreciate
voice in the distance.
No.
All right, friends. Now, whenever we come together, we have 3 personal standards. That's okay. There we go.
There we go.
Let's review them.
Okay.
We show respect, make good decisions, and solve problems. And we're going to use those every time we're together. And one of the things that's really important about being a scientist, so you always have an observation journal with you. So make sure you have your learning journal or a whiteboard or just something to write on, because today we're going to be asking you to write down your observations as we're doing some learning today. All right? So if you have it, you don't need it right this second, but you will need it in a moment.
And then when you make good decisions, that means when we ask you to stop and do some thinking and some jotting or writing, we actually want you doing that.
If we say to say it out loud, please say it out loud.
Yeah.
If we say to write it down, please write it down. Hi, Mr. Kevin.
Wrong shot.
Friends, we are learning lots of new things here at the TV classroom because we have this special technology that allows us to have this outside view. And so things, bear with us as we're learning. You get to giggle at our mistakes, which is also fun.
That is fun. And Mr. Kevin just modeled a perfect example of solving a problem, right? He accidentally used the wrong camera angle and was like, oops. And then he fixed it, right? And now we can
No worries.
move on. Okay,
All right.
every one of our science lessons is always going to start with what we call our essential question. And this is the question over several lessons that we are going to come to find the answer to. So starting today.
It really helps us kind of wonder about the world.
Yeah, it helps us get curious
Yeah.
around a common topic or theme. So let's all read this question together. So make the good decision and read this out loud with us. How do objects move or remain still?
Now, like, I'm thinking, like, sometimes I'm playing with Oliver and something will be not moving. Other times it'll like roll away. And I'm wondering why that happens.
Why? Why some objects and
Why
not others?
sometimes is an object still and
Yeah.
why sometimes does it move in the same spot?
Yeah.
We're going
And-
to learn about that.
And what does that, like that one object have to do with the grander scheme of our lives? Why do we need to
Right.
know about that?
Right, why is that important to us?
Oh.
So we're going to learn about that.
Okay. And in order to start our thinking and just get us really curious, but also to connect with what we already know. Because you already know about objects moving or
Yeah.
remaining still. You probably just don't know in the context of science that you know quite a bit.
You do.
So we're going to start with what's called an observation chart.
And this is when this journal is going to come in handy.
Here it is. We're going to show you some pictures, and you're going to do some noticing and some observations using the sentence stems I observed, I noticed, or by looking at the pictures, I predict. You're also going to do some questioning. What are you curious about? What do you wonder? What do you need to know more about?
And we have these sentence stems for you so that when you're doing your thinking and you're going to either say it or write it, you don't have to use all of your brain power figuring out how to put that sentence together.
That's exhausting.
We just want you to be able to do the thinking work around your observation. So we've given you the part that can kind of be tricky to put together, and then you can put the information you need to at the end and just jot it down.
It's kind of like our iMessage, right?
Yeah.
I feel, because
And if you don't know how to spell a word, this happened in another lesson. I just wrote my best guess and circled it, or you could just like sketch a little picture of it and move on. No one's grading this for like spelling. This
No.
is getting your thought. This is what scientists do. They they jot things down and make observations. So that's what we're doing because we're being scientists.
And we're gonna get, should we, about 1 minute on each?
Yeah, about 1 minute.
Okay, here we go. Oh, you're gonna love these pictures. These
Oh,
are
they're
great.
so good.
Also, think about our essential question. What makes an object move or remain still?
1 minute. Go ahead. Minute goes really fast when you're really observing.
Oh my goodness.
Do you want to know some of the things I observed, or should we ask them first?
Let's ask them first.
Okay, friends, tell us, what are some of the things that you observed or noticed?
Oh, they're using the sentence frames, Mrs.
I hear
Walle.
it. Yep.
I observed. I noticed.
Wow, they noticed a lot of things.
They did. What did you notice?
Well, I
Or
had
wonder.
a question.
Yeah.
Like, how do those rocks stay like that?
I was thinking, why aren't the rocks falling?
Like, I noticed that they're all stacked in like,
It doesn't seem like it's
not
even.
moving, it doesn't seem like. It doesn't look even, but they're
No.
just like there. And then I was also wondering, do the rocks eventually fall?
Oh,
We just don't know because it's a picture, it's not a movie, so we don't know. Did they take the picture and the rocks were about to fall? Are the rocks still like that?
Oh, that's a good question. I didn't think of that.
And I noticed that they're like stacked, but they're not stacked like what I think of like in a pyramid to keep everything really structurally sound. I also wondered why the polar bears are fighting over that. It looks like a fishing net. And does one of them win?
Yeah.
I also noticed that they're on snow and ice. And I've played tug of war, and I can't imagine playing it on ice.
That'd be very slippery.
So I'm wondering how they are still standing.
Yep.
Because I would be flat on my face.
Yep. I was thinking the same thing about the snow and the ice.
Yes, Mr. Kevin?
So I have a couple of wonderings too.
Yeah, what are
yeah.
you wondering?
So, well, notice the rocks. See, there's plants on there.
Oh,
Those have been there a long, long time, right? I mean, you have to be there a while sitting in one spot to have a plant grow on you.
Oh, you made such a great observation. So they must have been sitting there a long time.
That little detail of the plant.
I didn't even think about that, Mr. Kevin. That kind of answers the question of I don't think they're going to fall.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Those plants wouldn't just be there like someone stacked them up and then they're going to fall over.
So
Great
people put them
observation,
there,
Mr.
you know?
Kevin.
Yeah. And then with the bears, it looks like those are juvenile polar bears. They look like cubs to me.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
just
they
slightly
might be.
older than cubs.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to tell because we don't have scale in the picture, right?
Yeah.
We don't know how big that rope is.
Yeah.
And it's just like an icy patch. So we don't
Yeah.
really know the size of the bear. That would help,
Yeah.
wouldn't it, to have scale in that picture?
It would.
Let's look at the next one.
Let's look at another one. Oh, this one's really exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Here we
Let's
go.
give them 2 minutes on this one. There's a lot
Okay,
to look at.
that's a good idea. That's a good.
Okay. Go ahead. You have 2 minutes. What do you observe?
Go.
All right.
These are exciting pictures.
These are really very interesting pictures. Friends, what are some things you observed? I noticed the same thing. One thing I noticed is the people in that car, they're mannequins,
Right.
are hunched forward. They're not just sitting upright in the car. And they're mannequins, so I know they couldn't have moved themselves.
Right. Oh. What caused them to move?
That's a very good wonder.
I was looking at the buildings and I think I know that that's all the same building and it's being demolished somehow. But I'm like, what caused it to fall and crumble like that? What caused it to move towards the earth?
And then the two cars, they definitely have been smashed. I think I know that they smashed each other based on the picture because they're like kind of smashed similarly.
Yeah.
And it looks like they've moved a bit on, like you can see all the dust moving. So it tells me those cars have moved somehow. And I'm making a connection to the other picture.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like anything was moving in that picture. Like
Yeah.
the bears, they were like stuck there.
Yeah.
And the rocks
Yes.
hadn't moved for a
Yeah,
long
yeah.
time, but these objects are moving.
Yeah, I think I see like actual debris flying.
Yeah, so, and like the people moved, right?
Yes.
So
Okay.
what caused that to stay still and these to
And
move?
these to move.
Mr. Kevin, did you have any observations for these?
I was wondering if we were looking at a wreck happening on the picture on the bottom, because it looks like debris is still in the air.
Yeah, so it might have just happened.
Both cars are pitched forward as if they're still accelerating toward
Oh, look at that.
each
You
other.
can see it. I didn't even
yeah.
notice that. Like the backs of the cars, it looks like they're up off the ground.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Similar with the crash test dummies in the picture above.
Like they're actually,
They're
it looks like
still
they're almost
moving.
actually still moving.
Oh.
They're not in their resting place.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a good thing that we have so many different perspectives to listen to, because I never would have noticed the plants that Mr. Kevin pointed out. And
Right.
I wouldn't have noticed that the two cars still appear to be moving.
Yeah, me neither.
And you were the one who made the connection between these things are moving, but on the other slide they were still. And I wouldn't have made that connection.
It's so important to talk with others about what you're learning.
Okay, are we ready? Now that we've done some observations, we've thought about our pictures, we've gotten really
You can
interested.
put your journals away. You know what we forgot to do? We forgot to change the name to the big science words.
The big science words.
Oh well, next time.
We are going to learn a big science word.
Are you ready, Mr. Kevin?
Yes, hang on.
Here he goes.
Big science word.
Okay, are you ready for this new word? It might be new to you. It might not.
Or you might think you know what it means,
Oh,
but you might learn something new.
yeah. Okay, the word that we're going to learn today is force.
Let's clap up the syllables.
All right. Force.
One syllable.
One syllable. One vowel sound.
It doesn't seem very big.
It does not.
The meaning must be pretty big.
Oh, I bet it is. So think about
What does
Mr.
force
Kevin.
mean?
I was just going to say, I have a friend who says, may the force be with you always.
May the force be with you.
That's one meaning of the word force.
That's the meaning that my kids know about. So now, third graders, I want you to think about, what do you think the word force means?
In my head, I'm thinking, well, I know what I'm going to force you to do. It means I'm going to make you do it. But I don't think that's what we're talking about.
That, like, move.
But I might not
or-
force you to move.
No.
Like it's like using that word
Yeah.
to like describe me. I don't think that's a scientific
Yeah, no, that doesn't make sense here.
force.
So your prediction was to make someone do something. Okay.
Maybe force is to make something do something, or maybe. But what if it doesn't do anything? Like those rocks weren't doing anything; they were just there.
They were just there.
I can't make them just. That's not making them be like I. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I looked in a book,
I bet I know the name of that book. A dictionary?
a dictionary. And here's what I found. That a force is a push or pull on something.
Oh, so it's not just making it. Well,
I guess it could make it
Push?
do something.
or what if like two people are pulling on it, like that rope in the bears, and it doesn't do anything?
Oh, they were both
pulling at the same time,
Yeah.
and maybe that force makes it do nothing.
Or like the rocks were both pushing down,
Oh,
but equally, so it didn't fall.
you know, we need to put some movement to these words.
Me too. So if we know that a force is a push or a pull on something,
Well, I think we
I'm
can
gonna
do
do
a
a push or a pull.
on something.
I love that. So every time Mrs. Walle or I or Mr. Kevin says force, you repeat back the word and then say the definition
Okay.
with the movements with us.
So you say the word, and I'll repeat and do
Okay.
the movements.
Force,
Force, a
push or a pull on
something.
Should we try that again? Mm-hmm. Okay. Force,
Force,
a push or a pull on something. Here we go. Now, let's use it in a sentence. Here we go. The polar bears applied a force, a push or a pull on something on the rope during tug of war.
Oh, they applied force to the rope.
Did, because they were pulling.
Pulling.
Interesting.
But it wasn't moving.
That's that's what's so confusing to me, is that if I'm gonna push or pull something, why wouldn't it move?
But I guess like this table doesn't move.
Why not?
But I know there are forces being applied to this table,
Yeah,
and that's why it doesn't move.
that's why it doesn't move.
So a force doesn't only make something move.
That's like our essential question. What makes something move or remain still?
Oh. So I'm wondering if we need to talk about what we think we might know what force is.
We do.
And then talk about what we want to learn about it.
Let's do it.
Let's get some ideas. Now, scientists think they know. Then they investigate and experiment till they know. But then they still think they know, because then they might learn new things that change that again. Like, you may have heard people say, you just need a cloth mask. Doesn't matter how many layers, right? We've all heard that.
Yeah.
And then a few weeks ago, they said, actually, we need to revise that thinking because we've learned it needs to be 2 or more layers.
Right.
So they thought they knew that. And then they did some more research and they did some more investigating and pushing on each other's thinking. We do that in math too. We push on each other's thinking.
Yeah.
And they created new learning and realized, nope, it's really best to have 2 or more layers.
So then we have to change our thinking.
Yeah.
Or revise,
And scientists are continually changing and revising their thinking.
always.
Yep.
So what you're gonna do is take a moment and think about, what do you think you know about force?
Force.
Force.
The
A push or a pull on something. And think about, what do you want to learn about a force? Ooh. We didn't do our signal. Force. A push or a pull on something. And that's what you're going to write about in your notebook. What do you think you know? What do you want to know?
Let's give them 1 minute.
1 minute.
There you go.
All right.
Okay.
I think I know there are forces all around us.
Okay.
But I want to learn what forces make things remain still. Because I'm really curious about that, because it just does not make sense to me. So I'm very curious.
My thinking was, I think I know that a force makes something move, but then I'm confused because now I'm learning that there are forces all around us and this table is remaining still. So why? That's very similar to what your question is.
Yeah, but a little bit different.
A little bit.
You want to know why, and I want to know how.
Yes.
What do you want to know? Great. Well, we are going to do something called an input chart. And I have this chart. Now, when you see it with Mr. K, you're going to see my pencil marks all on it. Yes, I've already drawn it all out so that I can make sure that I focus on telling you the story behind everything and not worrying about my drawing. It was funny, in the last lesson I did for 2nd grade, I forgot to sketch in my rabbit. And everyone learned why I sketch everything ahead of time. So that's why I sketch ahead of time. So this is going to be a chart that explains forces
Force. A push or a pull on something.
at play. Talking about the types of forces,
Force. A push or a pull on something.
and then a little bit about a sport that was used
Play.
in the Olympics to play.
Oh,
And then some connections on how we might see these things in our real world.
exciting.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is the types of force.
Force. A push, or a pull on something.
So
I got it that time.
types of forces.
Force, a push or a pull on something.
You guys are not going to forget this definition. I'm going to say force so many times. Guess what it says? Force.
A push or a
pull on something.
Is a push or pull on something. Now, force, this push or pull, has strength. Okay, if you think about like, if you're lifting some weights, you've got a dumbbell, it has strength. The lighter weights take less strength. The heavier weights take more strength to get them to move. So if you think about, let's say you have just the little tiny ones on there, and it doesn't take as much strength to move up and down. But if you put really big, heavy ones, can you just see it like, oh, it's gonna take so much more strength.
Yeah.
It also has direction. That is the way you are applying that force on the object, or the thing is applying. If I'm lifting a weight, my direction is going up, right? The force, the strength at which I'm pushing, I'm pushing it up, right? So more strength, E-N-G-T-H, spelling matters, goes far. Less strength goes not as far. So there's a relationship between how much strength you put into the force and how far the object's gonna move. Isn't that cool?
That's really interesting.
Now, that's what force is. Let's talk about the types of force you can have.
Okay.
You can have a balanced force. That's where the sum of the force equals 0.
Ooh, sum. I know that word from math.
Yeah,
when we're
doing
doing
put together.
Putting together.
When you put together the forces, the movement is 0. Wait a minute.
Oh,
Oh.
Think about those rocks.
perfect.
Oh, they were balanced.
Here's an example. You have a box. You've got Mrs. Walle pushing this way. You've got Miss Ozolin pulling this way with the same amount of force. That means our strengths are equal, but we're pushing in opposite directions. Let's say it was Chili. And you push and I push. Look, Chili's not moving. We're applying the same force in opposite directions.
It's balanced force.
It's balanced. Chili isn't moving.
And Chili's feeling the squeeze.
Yeah.
It means that there's no change of motion. We're going to use Chili again.
Stay here, Chili.
There's no change. Okay. Well, what's the opposite of balanced?
Unbalanced.
Unbalanced. That prefix un means not. Not balanced.
Not balanced.
Unbalanced. Force.
A push or a pull on something.
That's when the sum
Putting them together.
of the forces
Force. A push or a pull on something.
does not equal 0. Go ahead. This was balanced. This is not balanced.
Not balanced.
Unbalanced. Balanced. Unbalanced. What's happening?
Chili
Balanced.
is moving.
Unbalanced. I'm putting more force on Chili than Miss Ozolin is. Our sum of force is not 0. They are not
Zero.
equal.
It's not balanced.
It's unbalanced. I'm putting more force on Chili than Miss Ozolin was, or even on this table. I'm putting more force on Chili than the force that Chili's getting from the air and the friction going this way. So that might look like a box actually moving to here when someone pushes it. Now I said this word friction. Everyone say friction.
Friction.
It's another type of force.
Force. A push or a pull on something.
It acts in the opposite direction of the object. It acts in the opposite direction of the object moving. I should put that. That the object moves in. That makes more sense. So, for example, if someone is riding a bike, now no laughing at my bike.
I'm sure it's a beautiful bike.
It's just a sketching bike.
This is an art. We just need to know what it is.
Yep. So I've got my little guy here riding the bike. Right? Mm-hmm. The bike is moving this way. This is the direction. And we said friction is the opposite direction. There's friction happening this way. The road is providing friction. So I'm gonna go back to those polar bears. We were talking about how if we were on the ice, it would be really hard for us to pull that force because there's not a lot of friction on ice. But if we're on carpet, you know how sometimes ground feels stickier?
Yep.
That's friction. So the friction is going this way, and the bike is going this way. Now I want to talk to you about a game that used to be in the Olympics.
Ooh.
Okay? So here's a little history. Here's the Olympic circles. There was an Olympic sport that used to be played from 1900 to 1920.
Oh, 20 years.
And it was the TWIF, the Tug of War International Federation.
Tug of War International Federation.
And 53 countries participated.
Wow.
Now, I want to talk about when countries would tie.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what would happen when countries would tie. There was the rope, and here is the middle of the rope where they could tell, and the goal is to get the little line all the way to your side, right? And to put an unbalanced force on the other team and pull them
it.
force, a push or a pull on something. In this case, a rope. Pull it so it becomes unbalanced. They fall down and you get the little rope thing on your side. Now, if all the people standing and pulling were the same size, and all of them pulled with a similar amount of force, guess what would happen? Can you guess? Nothing.
Balanced force.
Balanced. The same push or pull happening on both sides of the object. That little flag stayed in the middle. But if it wasn't balanced, let's say there were 3 people on one side and 2 people got sick on the other team.
Oh no.
Or somebody slipped and fell down.
There wasn't enough friction.
Guess what would happen? This moved over here. This person ended up on the floor.
Oh no.
Became unbalanced. They were able to pull more, greater than the sum of 0.
More strength.
There's more strength, so they can pull, and now they have a greater force than this side, and now it's going to move towards them. Doesn't move, moves. So where in the real world might we see force?
We were thinking about that.
Yeah, the real world. Force.
Oh, force. A push or a pull on something.
I'm seeing if you're listening.
You
Did any
are.
of you at home get it before Miss Ozolin?
Oh.
That's kind of the little game.
That's a
Can you
fun
do
game.
it before Miss Ozolin or Mrs. Walle does it? Let's talk about some ideas of some balanced forces in the real world. Remember I said
Force. A push or a pull on something.
I said force is everywhere.
Force is everywhere.
Force is everywhere.
Force. A push or a pull on something.
Things like this. floating. But how is that balanced? Well, you've got force going down, or the pull of the gravity, and the force of the water pushing up on the boat.
Force, a push or a pull on something. In this case, a boat.
If you put too much in the boat, or if there's a hole in the boat and it fills with water, now this pull from down here becomes greater. And guess what happens to the boat?
It
It goes down with
It's
it.
unbalanced.
Unbalanced.
Sinks.
Or think about, I don't know if you can see it out there. Can we see any of the utility poles out there, Mr. Kevin, in our background? Can we make it big for a second?
Take a look. Well, that crane behind you is a great example.
Yeah, that crane isn't falling.
That's true.
So is that crane balanced or unbalanced? It's balanced.
Force. Force.
A push or a pull on something to make it not move. If it was unbalanced, it would fall down. We also have things called utility poles.
Crane is right over your head, Mrs. Ozolin.
Yeah, it is. Oh, I leaned the wrong way.
There's a
I
utility
moved the
pole.
wrong
That's
way.
the poles that hold up all of the phone lines and the cable lines and the internet lines.
Yeah.
Those are a balanced force because they're not falling down. Now it takes people with really smart brains to
Yeah.
engineer those so that they don't fall down. If you think it's just this pole
Yeah.
standing up, how come they're not falling?
Tip over.
Right? I wonder what makes it so they don't tip.
It has to.
Balance.
Balance.
I wonder how they achieve that. That's a really good
That's
question.
a great question.
Or what if you're with a friend who has the same mass as you and you're on a seesaw?
Oh.
You're going to have the same, your sum of your force is going to be 0. Have you ever had that happen where you're on a seesaw and all of a sudden you're both just like,
That was
you're
always
both dangling?
It was always a game. We tried to find
Like,
a balance.
right? So you just like dangle in the air.
Yeah.
I've had that happen.
Yeah.
Now there's also unbalanced forces. So if a balanced force is when things move, a balanced force is when things don't move. Force.
Force.
Push.
A push or a pull on something.
Then unbalanced force is when something does move, like when you're riding a skateboard or riding the waves on a surfboard. You're moving, right? A push or a pull. Or
A rocket.
a rocket.
Oh.
Cool.
I think that would be a really strong force.
It would be a very strong, but think about how much force it would take to get that, a force, push or a pull on something, to get that all the way through our atmosphere.
Yeah.
That's why, like, when you watch it on TV, you
Yeah.
can almost feel it,
Yeah.
right? Or what about when the seesaw isn't the same? Seesaws can be balanced or unbalanced. So think about this desk.
It's balanced now.
It's balanced, it's not moving, but what if?
What if we push it or tip it?
Ooh.
Oh.
It took quite a bit of force for me.
It did.
My
Force,
arms
a
were
push
shaking.
or a pull on something.
Isn't that interesting?
So interesting.
Now, here's something I'm going to tell you, and I forgot to tell the other classes,
Yeah.
but I'm going to tell you third graders, that at the end of these 3 lessons, this poster I made, signed by Mrs. Walle, Miss Ozolin, and Mr. Kevin, is up for grabs. If you send us what you do for any of these lessons,
Anything.
we're going to put all the names in a hat and draw them, and one of you will get this sent
This poster.
to your teacher for you to take home and have at your home.
That would be exciting.
The one I actually made here on TV.
Yeah.
Won't that be cool?
That would be so cool.
Before we tell them what they need to do today
Okay.
to get a chance to win this poster, let's do the beginning part of a chant.
Let's do it.
So chants are things we do that are kind of like songs. Ooh, I've got a hair in my eye, that hurts. To help us remember vocabulary. And so this one has lots of different parts to it, but we're just going to teach you the first part. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
So there's 2 different colors.
I'm going to be the blue, and you guys and Miss Ozolin are going to be that yellowish orange color.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't know what you've been told.
Forces in motion are in control.
On the playground, we see them work.
Having more weight can be a perk.
Sound off.
Forces.
Sound off.
Motion.
Sound off.
Sound off.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Push and pull. Should we do that one more time?
Yeah, that was really good, wasn't it? I think that's the best one of our day.
I know.
I don't know what you've been told.
Forces in motion are in control.
On the playground, we see them work.
Having more weight can be a perk.
Sound off.
Forces.
Sound off.
Motion.
Sound off.
Sound off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Push and pull.
When we were singing that, I had a thought.
Yeah.
We've had snow recently,
Yes.
and I wonder if having more weight in a sled makes you go faster or having less weight makes you go faster.
Oh, I have a connection with that.
What's your connection?
Okay, so we went sledding.
Yeah.
And Mr. Ozolin went, and then Charlie went.
Who
And
went
then
further?
Mr. Ozolin went really far, like he almost went over the bank. And
Who
Charlie almost got stuck.
Who went faster?
Oh, Mr. Ozolin by far. Yes, it's kind of scary.
So maybe we think we know
I think we know.
that, and snow doesn't give you very much friction. Like, think
No.
about if you tried to do it just on grass. I think
Yeah,
grass
that
would
wouldn't-
give more friction.
Yeah, yeah.
When you don't have much friction,
Yeah.
heavier weight moves faster.
That's what I think.
It's a prediction.
It is. But I could also make Charlie go faster if I pushed him.
So if you gave him more force,
Force, a push or a pull on something.
he would go faster.
Yes.
What if you pushed Mr. Oslin? Did it
goes
make him go faster or slower?
I didn't even try.
Interesting things to think about. Those are kinds of things you could do at home. Like you
Yeah.
could get like a little board to make a hill and like have toys like go down them and then like apply forces and like kind of investigate
And just think about what would happen if.
and then try it out.
Try it out.
Okay, so our essential question. How do our objects move or remain still? We're starting to understand that. What's their assignment today?
They are going to write everything that they know about force. Force.
The
A push or a pull on something. It could be a paragraph. It could be a drawing with labels. It could be an experience that you've had with force.
A push or a pull on something.
And you're going to send it to us here at TV Classroom. Mr. Kevin, how can our third graders enter into the drawing
For
our
this
inquiry
drawing.
chart?
Well, I don't want to force anyone, but your chances of winning are much greater if you send something to us at TV Classroom at tacoma.k12.wa.us, or you can mail it to TV Classroom, 601 South 8th Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405.
Now, we're going to be going out in the real world to look at these things, and I'm actually going to be laminating these charts. So it's going to be like a real poster.
Yeah. It's
gonna
going
be
on a field
awesome.
trip with us.
Yeah, it's going to go to the places we go. And we have some exciting things planned for our Forces field trip. But we're not telling you.
A push or a pull on something. Now is time for your affirmation. This is the time we get to say positive things about ourselves before we go off and continue our scientific inquiry. So today your affirmation is, I am a scientist.
All right, here we go.
I am a
I'm a
scientist. Excellent job today, third graders. We hope you have a great rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing you back here next time in our TV classroom.
Bye.
Bye.
The crane started to move. Hey kids, we want to see your work. Just send your pictures and your stories to TV Classroom, 601 South 8th Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405.